accessing the slides or the workbooks, because it's very important that you also start playing around with it. Then only you will feel relevant to what we're discussing here. Otherwise, it will be all theory, something like that. Because once I am dragging and dropping, and when you start practicing on your own, you'll see some differences. So we're happy to discuss them here. There is no problem at all. Okay. So in these folders, you have some videos also. There's a transcript also. So these are sufficient. So you could revise them anytime, or you could just read them. So these are like very starting steps. So these are like building blocks for us to get towards advanced relation with Tableau. Okay. So yesterday we discussed two steps. We discussed about marks. Right? We discussed about what happens when and how these marks are used by Tableau. Right? We saw that most of the time the automatic marks are useful, but we could always change them. There is no stopping us. So I could make them circled. Right? Okay, but whatever makes more sense to you, you could change that. But most of the times, the automatic ones are really what is best for their visualization. That's what Tableau does by using best practices, right? And you could use this 4 marks type also to make a visualization better: color, size, label, text, right, detail, and tooltip. So we saw some of the examples of how we can play around with that. And we are going to use this only throughout our session. So don't worry if you miss something. This will come up again and again because you cannot avoid that in creating a visualization. The other point we discussed was how do we create hierarchies, right? Again, hierarchy is some term in BI world which is everywhere. So whatever reporting tool you use, people want to drill down and drill upon their hierarchies, which is inherent in our data. Right? Every business has some kind of hierarchy. So we are all familiar with retail. That's why most of the data sets will be retail. Right? So retail, there are some of the hierarchies include products. So there's a departments have categories have individual products, right? There can be a hierarchy in region. So like location hierarchy is there. So location means basically market will have regions will have country will have state will have city, and they will have postal code, right? So creating hierarchy in Tableau is very simple. You just drag and drop and place them in the proper sorted order you want, and that's it to it. Automatically Tableau have hierarchy for you. Okay? So you could click a plus button here and then it goes one level down, right? Something like that. Or you could just click a minus and go up. So this is called drill down and drill up. So one of the other natural hierarchy is available in the date dimensions, right? So dates are again which are always looked upon in a hierarchical manner. You start with the year, then you go to quarter, months, and days, right? And weeks also sometimes. So you could have normal hierarchy in dates. You can have hierarchy in your fiscal calendar. It can be anywhere, right? So there's now the example we saw, but based on the business, right, you can have different hierarchies. They are there. But one thing to understand is Tableau handles them in a very elegant way. So there is no overhead on the user side to manage or maintain them. Whatever is your data, you could just always make the hierarchies in your data connection after data is imported into Tableau, and you could save them, and you can use them whatever way you want, okay, without any issue. So if you have any doubts regarding the last two things we discussed yesterday, feel free to ask. The next thing we are going to discuss is sorting. Okay. Again, you might have felt when you created reports that you want to sort data in some way to make more sense of it, right? So sorting is again is basically ordering data in the way we want. is again a very important aspect of the reports, right? So let's do this. So I can open Tableau public. I just want to show again how to use public. So one important point is to use public. The reports which are going to open in public should be on the public domain. So basically uh, they should be uploaded somewhere in the Tableau public machine. Okay. So these are the reports. So some of the reports or some of the exercises you are seeing, I have uploaded them in my profile. Okay. So you could use them anytime. So let's say if I am opening sorting, you just click on sort. So it will open that sorting one. Okay. So you can see it's not on my local machine yet. So that's why it's downloading it from there. Okay. So we got it here. So this is one of the simplest report we build a lot of times. Right? Sales by category and subcategory. Okay. So let's try to again build this report just to give you an hang of how we can do that. Okay, so this report is very simple. We want to see sales and profit by category and subcategory, right? So I want to see sales. Okay, let me drag this to columns, and I want to see this by category and subcategory, right? So I put it category and subcategory. Okay, and I want to see profit also. So I put profit onto colors. Okay, that's simple. So this graph shows me my sales and profits across two dimensions, right? Category and subcategories. So if I just want category, I can just drill up, right? Or I can go one level down to subcategory. That's fine. Now, definitely, I want to sort these sales, right? So that they are in ascending or descending order. So how do you do that? The simplest way of sorting data is you look on the axis. Okay. So whenever there is a measure on the axis, you will get this symbol. That's okay. You can sort it here. So you can click on this sort. You can see automatically data got sorted. Now, every time you need to understand is Tableau sort don't cross boundaries. Okay. So when you sort on sales, it doesn't sort sales across this pane. Okay. It only sorts inside each what you can say box or inside each whatever subcategory. That's better term. Okay. So if you have expected that the topmost cell should have come on the top, then that's what didn't happen by default. Okay, by Tableau. So Tableau never do crossing across panes. Okay, so whenever he does sorts, it's inside the lowest dimension you have, so it's subcategory. So they are sorted inside each subcategory. So in each subcategory, the highest one is listed first. Okay, which is the furniture, chairs. Then below that, something like that. Okay. So if I want to do the reverse sort, you just click it again. Okay. You can see now I got ascending sort. Right. So the picture shows clearly it's ascending sort because you click it again, the sort is vanished. Okay. So you click again, you got the descending sort. So you got this sorted by sum of sales, right? What if I want to sort it by profit? Okay, so profit is not here, right, in the axis, so there is no symbol. Okay, so if I see profit and I open this fill, there is no sort here. Okay, so in all those cases, the sorting in the toolbar is important. So you could use this. So I can click on some profit and I can say sort. So you can see sort subcategory descending by profit. That's what is mentioning. Why? Because I click on profit and I'm clicking on sort here. So now this is sorted by profit, that is descending. Okay, so this should have the highest profit. Okay. 161.924 and this is 143.96. Okay, so the bar with the highest profit is listed. Okay, or I can make it ascending by profit. That kind of thing. So if you don't have the option in Axis, you could use any of the marks to sort the graphs. So you can use this button to sort it. So these are basically the easiest sorting option. Okay, they are basically called quick sorts. Right? You can easily sort them. But sometimes you get into a situation wherein the sort is not so obvious. Okay, so let's say you have a report which showing you shipping cost by ship mode and order priority. Okay, so like the ship mode is same day or first class, second class, standard class, and order priority is critical, high, medium, right? And this is the shipping cost. And you have make order priority by color. Okay. Now, what I want to do is I want to show basically the critical ones first, then high, then medium, then low. It's sorted here, but definitely that does not might be the case. Okay. So let's say if I want to clear all sort, you could use this button and say clear sorts, something like that. So everything vanishes, all the sorts you have done will go away. So other way of doing sorting is you could do manually basically. Okay. So the way you want it. So let's say you want medium after low. So you just click on here and say medium. Okay. Now see automatically critical, medium, high, that's how the order is coming. Or you can do it here also. You can make medium on the top. Everywhere the medium will become first. So this is called manual sorting. So in some such cases, right, wherein there is no automatic way of doing sorts, right? Because here this critical, medium, high is basically your business specific. Okay, it's not like alphabetical sort or a numeric sort. So in that case, you can always sort it your wish. So you could make high up or medium high, or you can make standard class first. Okay, then the same day, or you can make same day here, anything. So basically, you can always play header or legends here to change your sort order. Okay, that's another way of arranging your data. So it's very flexibility. Okay, so it's very flexible in that. So you would always play around with this and decide what you want to do. Okay. So that's another way of sorting data on the screen. Now, one of the next use cases is where you can sort from fill, and this is where it becomes more interesting. Okay, so I want to sort these by these subcategories by something else which is not there in this whole graph. Okay, so let's say I want to sort the subcategory by discounts, but discount is not here, right? So I cannot click on a discount and do a sorting like that, like I did. Okay, so if I want to sort the subcategory by profit, I can click on profit and I can say sort. So this is sorted by profit now. But what if I want to sort subcategories by something which is not in this graph? I want to do it by discount or by quantity sold. Okay. In that case, you could use the sort from fill, okay, which is more advanced sorting option basically. So if you want to sort subcategories, you click on subcategory and say sort. Okay, there's a sort option here, right? Then you get the whole window here. Okay. Now there is some option, so you can do sort by source order. Okay, so what it means is this will sort as it is in source. So it's a text file. The order in which they are coming in text file, they will be maintained by Tableau. Okay, or you could sort it alphabetically. Okay, or you could sort it by field. Okay, so this field can be anything. It's not necessary to be in the window. So I could sort it by, let's say, quantity and sum of quantity or distinct quantity, or let's say count distinct quantities. Okay. Now you can see subcategories are sorted now by count distinct quantities. So if you want to see what was the quantity here, I can always drag quantity on the tooltip, right? And instead of sum, I have to change the measure, right? I have to say count distinct. So sum will give you sum. So you could do sum, average, mean, max, or you can count the distinct value of quantity, something like that. It doesn't make sense. I'm just doing it. Count distinct quantities have no meaning, but I'm just giving an example. Okay. Okay. Now if you click on here, you can see the count distinct quantity is 14. Okay. Here it's again 14. So everywhere is just 14. So there is no point in sort here, right? So just change this to sum of quantity, and in the sort also will do the same thing. Okay. So I will click on this sort, go here, and I will do sum. Okay. Now you can see sum of quantity 3083, then 8310, 11,000. So it's basically doing the ascending sort, right? It's here 6,000, then it increased to 8,000, 8,000, 8, 9, 3, 12. Yeah. Okay. So now the subcategories are sorted by this. So this is very advanced and very powerful option of sorting. Okay. Now, if you don't like anything, okay, and you want to do manual sort, you want always that label should come on the top. Okay, you could do always a manual sort. There is no stopping it. So if you don't like this and you want always the labels should be coming first and art should be coming after that, something like that. Okay, so you can always do a main. You can see now if I do a manual sort, labels are always up, followed by art, something like that. Okay. So sorting from pill is a very good option which has a lot of control. Okay. So remember all these sortings by pill are done on the dimension. Okay. Dimension, basically the discrete blue ones. They are not on the sales. You are not doing sorting on sales. So sorting on sales are done, or basically sorting for measures are done through either these tooltips. Okay. But dimensions can be always sorted by the way you want. Okay. Now let's say I want to sort the categories also now. So if I click on categories, I say sort, and I want to be again manual. I want technology is always first because we are like technology, followed by office supplies and then furniture. Okay. So you can see you got technology first, then office supplies, then furniture. Right. Inside that, machine, and the subcategories are sorted by this. So you can always play around with this. Okay. So what options we have in pill? You can either sort by data source or alphabetical order. This is like very obvious, right? Other option is, this is the interesting one, where you can sort a dimension by any of the field which is not there in your graph at all. Okay, so that's very sometimes a useful option. Or you could always do manual. Okay, so you could do manually from here, or you could always do it from here also, right? You can always make fonts higher if you want. So, or something which is repeating everywhere, you can just change supplies to higher here. Supplies always come first. So manual sorts can be always done from the screen. There is absolutely no problem with that. Okay, but there are some advanced options which can be used. Now, okay, that is all fine. So let's go and clear sorts. Okay, clear sheets clears the complete sheet. Okay, so if I just clear sheet, everything goes. I can always do an undo. I'm back. Okay, but there is a small option which says clear sorts, which clears all the sorts. Now we are back to normal. So now I want to make these boundaries go away. Okay, so I want the highest sale should come first. Okay, irrespective of category and subcategory. So how do I do that? So Tableau doesn't violate the boundaries so easily. Okay, so it always respect that boundary. So whenever we did this sort, it was always inside a subcategory. Okay, so if you want to go away, that the easiest way of doing this is make subcategory first, like this. Now you can see. Okay, so you got the same information, but now the highest sales one come first, irrespective of whether in which categories of category. So you just change the perspective, right? You gave subcategory first, and then you have category. So what happened now is um, that it's now sorted in the whole context of the report, not just inside a subcategory. Okay. Sometimes you get into such situations, but most of the times uh, it's fine. So I saw this situation many times, wherein you wonder why it's happening like that, right? So um, basically, what you want is you want to see highest sales first, right? So which subcategory has the highest sale, irrespective of which category it belongs to, correct? So I want to see which of them is making the highest profit. So of course phones is making, but it's not quite visible here, right? Because it's sorting inside each category. Okay. So to do that, what you have to do, you have to change your report perspective. So you just make first subcategory. I can clearly see that phones are the uh, toppers, correct? So they are like top, then copiers and chairs and bookcase, something like that. So that's the third part. So this concludes our sorting. So again, sorting is something you'll always do in your reports. So we sorted with a quick sort option, which is on the axis, right? Or you can do it from the toolbar. Click on any one of the measure and do sorting, ascending or descending. The second option is you could always do on legend sorts, right? You can play around and make wherever you want these, so they will get sorted to the order you want. It's basically doing on header and legend. The third is sorting from pills. So that is where it becomes interesting. So you could take any dimension member and you say sort, and you have a lot of options here. So you could sort it manually or by some field which is not there in the report, or alphabetical sort or data sort order. You can always play it ascending or descending to the way you want. And last option we saw is sorting across panes, basically. Okay. So if you really want to see that you want to cross this boundary and you want to see the top subcategory which is making you sell, then you have to change the order. You have to make subcategory first, right? And you have to give it a sort, right? Then you see that phone ones are the highest one. They all belong to technology, right? Then furniture, there's two more, chair and bookcases, something like that. Okay. So to conclude, again, so this will come up, the build type, right? So the green and blue ones. So the green ones are continuous, which are basically measures, right? So they don't have this sort option here, because uh, the measures basically need to be sorted either by the axis or they have to be sorted from the toolbar, okay, something like that. Because they are measures, so they are like green, continuous one. But the dimension which are discrete and blue, they have this sort option where you can have this sorted by whatever you want, ascending, descending, alphabetical, manual, whatever you want. Okay. So based on the pill type, they're blue and green. So as we'll go, you'll see many differences in these two. But some of this is very inherent to how Tableau works. Okay. So the green ones are basically measured. They are continuous in nature. Okay. They don't have gaps in their data. That's what it means by continuous. Okay, because numbers are there, right? So they are like continuous things. But dimension are discrete. So you will have distinct ship modes, you will have distinct order quantity, something like that, right? Order priorities. So there are like only 5 ship modes, right? And there are only 3 order priorities. So they are called discrete. Okay. Discrete means the number of distinct values in the data set are countable. Okay. But profits, like if you do distinct profits, there will be a lot of profits which are coming in, right? So that's why this kind of data is called continuous. Okay. So they always have them marked. You can always change them. Okay, we'll see as we'll go the different options to play with it. But most of the times, what Tableau does by default is correct, and it's perfectly fine. Don't need to worry about that. Okay. So the continuous fields or measure don't have the they don't have the what I will say the sort option in the drop down here. Okay, but this with the dimension members have, they can be sorted by anything you want. Now there is a new feature which is added in Tableau 9, which was not there earlier, was changing the name on the report itself. Okay, so if you double click on some profit, you could change this to whatever you want. I can say some of profit. Okay, so you can see it's now changed to sum of profits. Okay, but here the name is same. So earlier it was very painful. Okay, so if you want to rename something, you have to rename it here itself. Okay, but many times what you want, only for this report you want this to call something else. In that case, you can just do it on the header itself, whatever you want. Okay, that kind of good welcome feature out there. Okay, so that's conclude our sorting. So, any doubts in this? No doubts? You will to follow, right? Or hello? Actually, I kind of not getting any clue whether you guys are following this pace or uh, so most of this is one of my most quiet sessions actually. I usually interact a lot with the participants, but somehow I'm not able to do that in this session. So because we are actually not face to face, right? It's very difficult. Okay, it's very difficult. Sorry for like pressing this up, but we are not face to face. It becomes very difficult for me to basically check whether you guys are in line or not. So I will keep doing that. So again, I will apologize for that. Okay, great. So you could go ahead with this. Okay, whatever I'm discussing is out there. Okay, you can read back later on. The next interesting topic is groups. Okay, again, grouping, binning, and all those things are some of the tools which BI developers have in their pocket. Okay, so let's see what is grouping is all about. So as the name suggests, we are trying to group data, okay, in some sensible way. So one way is of doing that is you do it in your data itself, or the ways you do at the reporting side, right? What happened? Continue trial. Yeah. So why to group? Now you can see here, FL and Florida. We know that they are the same thing, right? Just because of the bad data out there, it's put at 2, right? It's giving wrong information. Okay. So in that case, I want to just group this 2 into a report, into same report, right? So we'll see how can you do that. That's where group comes into picture. Sometimes like there are too many subcategories and I don't care. So I want all this category which are having profit less than 100K as one group, basically saying small subcategory, something like that. Okay. So all these things can be done in Tableau very easily. They are called basically groups. Okay. So the easiest way of grouping is, so this report basically gives you sales by state, right? in market US and region South, something like that. Okay. Now, what you want to do is this FL and Florida are same, right? So I just want to represent as one state instead of two. So basically, what you're trying to do is you're trying to create a group. So you just click here, you click here, whatever you want to group. Okay. You can say right click and you can say group. Okay. This is the group option. Or you click here, and when you click on this tooltip which comes, there is a paperclip option which is called group. Okay, group members. So I will say group members. You can say it's club them as FL and Florida automatically for you. So you can see the um, all the FL and Florida are just now grouped considered as one dimension instead of two. Right? That's what we want. We could always rename this. But I'm not seeing the option somewhere. Okay, this is the edit alias here, right? So I can call it again Florida. So now you can see it's basically you just hide the data in complexity or uh, what is the bad data in Tableau, right? And you just make it as Florida. So as an end user, it doesn't matter now whether it's FL or Florida, it will come as Florida here. Right? So you can see there's automatically a state group created here in the left hand side when I did it here, right? Something like that. So the groups have this paperclip symbol. Okay. So we're adding the symbol to our list, right? ABC are text, the globe ones are geographical, this is the hierarchy, right? The hash is basically numeric. And the paperclips means they are the grouping symbol. Okay. You could just again rename this, you can call this state group. Okay. So that's one way of creating group. You can do it on this, okay. Or you could always right click on group state and say create group. Okay, now it's your choice, whatever you want to do. Okay, so I can just randomly click this and say group. Okay, it will create one group, so I will say group 1. Okay. Then I can just select these and say again group. This will become group 2, something like that. Okay, so it's very easy. You can move around, you can create groups, you can add a group from here to here, or you can add new members to group, something like that by dragging and dropping. Add to group 2, something like that. Okay, so you could add members to groups and you could ungroup them. Okay, and something, the other option is you could add include others. Okay, so what it means is, so rest of them will go to a default group called others, something like that. Okay, so you manually decide what is group 2 and group 1, and then everything which is not there in group will go to others, something like that. So it's very easy to create groups. Okay, and they're very useful, right? Like we saw one example. So I will just going to cancel this. Okay, so once group is created, you can always edit it. So I can say right click and edit group. So you can see we have just one group here, FL and Florida. Somewhere you can always use find. Okay, so I got this Florida. So you can, this is the only group which is out there. But if there are some spelling mistakes, you can find out and do this. So it's like basically manual method of creating groups. The other option is like we discussed. You want these ones, right? Binders, labels, or the small ones. So these are basically making profit below 400k or up to 400k, right? So you can just right click and group them. Okay, basically saying that these are small office supplies, something like that. So now they will come as small office supplies as one group instead of treating them separately. Okay, just to make life simple. It's basically the business user's uh, tool in his hand. If you want, you can group them. Okay. So you can see there is a subcategory group created. Okay. Now this is very easy. You could always move this subcategory group into product hierarchy, and you can move the other one back. Okay, there is absolutely no problem. So if I do uh, this by category and subcategory now, so now this subcategory group will be into picture, right? So you can see we got a small surface applies now as a group. Okay. So in Tableau, once you create some things, it's very easy to integrate with others. There is no like special setup need to be done. So we created the group, and now that group is part of the hierarchy now. So the normal element you dragged it down. Okay. So now this the way group is created, the same will be reflecting in all your reports, right? Now there is no individual subcategories here. Okay. So if you want to see, if I add a subcategory here, so you can see small surface applies contain these, right? So they were just clubbed into one, okay, because you create a group for them, something like that. So if you just don't want to see them individually, you want to see them as a group, then this is the way to go. So it looks very simple and it's very efficient and elegant feature in Tableau. You can group data according to your need, but this is somehow something manual, right? So I could also do a visual grouping. So like there's a scatter plot, so you could just group these attributes into one. So I can just select, these marks, and I can say group. Okay, so you can see there is a visual group created here. You click on this, it will highlight them. Okay, the group created, and this is the others, right? Let's try. So let's try that. So I want to see sales by state, right? And I will use a show me. It will show me the map. So to make our life simple, we will filter this data on United States, right? So put the country in the filters, and I will say none. I will search for United States. I will say apply. Okay. So let's say I want to group them by coast, right? So, okay, so you can just do a control click and basically select whatever you want, and you just call group them. So now there are like two dimensions, right? Country and state. So I will say all dimension. Okay, so you can see he created a group automatically for me. So this is like United States Arkansas, United States Illinois, United States Iowa, and three more, right? So this is that group. I will just enable highlighting. Okay, and then this is the other group, something like that. Okay. So most of the times the features which are there in one of the visualization will be there in others. Okay, it's like it's not the Tableau way. Yeah. So I think it answered your question. You could do grouping wherever you want. Okay, in the Tableau. Arkansas is here.
Hi, Pushpendra.
Yeah, good.
Can we group measures as well?
Okay. So grouping will only make sense in terms of dimensions, right? So measures are like continuous numbers, so there is no point grouping them, but there is a concept called bins. We're going to discuss that in a while. Okay, so measures can be binned. So you could have bins are like buckets, right? 0 to 1000, 500 to 1000, something like that. So they are called bins. Okay, they are not actually called what I will say. They are not actually called groups. They are called bins when they come to measure. Okay, so we're going to that. So let's discuss that again. So if I open the second sheet, additional way to group. This is grouping. This is okay. I opened the same thing. No, additional way to group. Okay. So these are called basically bins. Okay. So let's say I want to take sales. You can right click and say create bins. Okay. So you could always have yours bin size by default, or you could click on load button. So Tableau suggests a size of bin for you. Okay. So you could see he created so mean value is 0 and max is basically this much, 22,000. Okay, so we created the size of bin as this. I'll say okay. Now there will be automatically a sales bin created here. Okay. So just to see how it works, you drag sales bin and sales. Okay, so you can see the bins are of the size this much, right? So it's showing me how many items are there in every bin. Okay, so you can see the $0 sales bin is the highest basically, right? And then 264 and something like that. Yeah. If I just keep bin, then these are my bins. So 0 to 264 to this, and you can always change that if you want to make it even numbers. Let's say I will say edit bin, and I will make this size of bin as, let's say, $2,000. I can say 0 to 2000, 2000 to 4000, 4000, 6000. Just make bins of this category, right? And now I can see sales in every bin, something like that. Okay. So basically all the rows which follow in this category, they are bins. So bins is just useful when you want to see in a bucket size. You don't care by actual number. Okay. So in that case, the bins will be useful. So you cannot create groups on measures, but you could create bins. Okay. So these are all kind of interview things. So, this might be come up in interviews. Like you ask this question, right? Somebody might ask you in an interview. Okay, this will be the answer, right? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I have another question.
Yeah.
I see a .twvx files when you open the folders. Can you give some light on that?
Okay, so these are basically Tableau workbooks. WB means workbooks, WBX. Okay, so whenever we create anything, right? So the Tableau creates a workbook. So let's say I opened a fresh one, Tableau 9 now. So when you save them, they get saved as TWX format. Okay, it's like when we save Excel, they get saved as XLXX, right? Same thing. That's why they use that convention X in the end. So it's workbooks. Okay, so whenever you save this, whatever you create, let's say I create a grouping and I want to save it, and I say file save as. Okay, so you can see they get saved as Tableau package workbook. Okay, nothing else. So whatever you do, you can save them. You can keep on your machine, and then you can refer in later. Nothing else.
Okay, thank you.
So you could use this workbooks later on to see what you are discussing here, right? To relate. That's why I kept it here in the folder. Now, before we stop for today, all the groupings and everything we did was very manual, right? So the classic example is the small items, right? The small items I just decided manually, but they can change over time, right? So how I consider small items? All the items which were, let's say, giving me profit less than $100,000. Okay. So I want to group small supplies as those items which are giving me profit less than 100,000. So on the map, I can find it out and manually group them, right? So these are like all 100,000. I think this is 108. So after this, right? So all these are 100,000. But this could change, right? Today it's binders profit might increase beyond 100,000. Then this group become invalid, right? So many times you cannot expect users to go ahead and do it manually because every time or every month you cannot just go and repeat itself, right? So we should have some automated way of creating groups so that we can logically group these kind of items without relying on manual things. Okay. So let's try to do that, how we can do that. So I'll create a new report. I want to see profit by subcategory, right? So I want to see profit by subcategories. Where is category? Yeah. Okay, perfect. Okay. So I can always do a sort on profit to just make more sense. Okay. And okay, that's fine. Now I want to basically categorize or group fields which subcategory which are giving me profit less than 100,000. Okay. So one way of doing we saw is that you just manually decide it, right? You click on here and say group, but we just ruled out that option, right? Because manual grouping is errorsome. In future, it can change. So how I can change these situations? So as you might have thought of, you need to look for some option where you can do some calculations, right? So Tableau has a very powerful calculation wizard, okay, where you can do a lot kind of calculations. So let's try that. So they in the Tableau they are called calculated fields, okay. So you could create fields which has some calculation, which will be done by Tableau internally, okay. So it could be as simple as concatenating two fields, right? You have separate first name and last name. You could make them one field, which has both of them. Or it's same as it can be as complex as calculating running totals or doing moving averages or standard variations or whatnot. Okay. So a lot of powerful features. We'll go on exploring them. There will be a separate session we discuss all about calculation. Okay, but here we are going to do a simple calculation to create groups. Okay, so you can click on any field or you can just click on, let's say we want to do calculation on subcategories. I'll click on this and I will say create calculated field. Okay, so I will call this as small, I will say office subcategory, and I'm just giving a big name just to make it more clear, under 100,000 K. Okay. Oh, we got this calculated field. You can see. So this is the most simplest form of calculation is renaming, right? So I have the same field now with different name, right? So it's same as right clicking, duplicate, and do a rename, right? Instead of that, I just create a calculated field and give a different name. So The most simplest way of calculation is you can create the same field with multiple names. Okay, so I will right click and I will say edit now. Okay, so so it's kind of altogether new window here they have given. So this is very different from Tableau 8. Okay, for calculations. So you by default this right side is hidden. You can open this. So these are all the functions available. So it's very natural, right? So if be in a ETL world or BI world, everywhere, every tool has its own syntax and functions. Okay, it might take some time to get hangs of. So we're looking for some logical if-else statement, right? So if the profit is below that, I want to just call it true, else I want to call it false, right? It's as simple as that. So I want to see something like expressions. So let's say, I would say case. So there's a case which says case expression when value then this. Let's try this. Okay. So case, what's my expression? My expression is sum of profit, right? This is the profit. So you click on this, automatically gives you suggestions, right? So if sum of profit is less than 100,000, then I will say true. Else I will say it's false. Then I just have to say and. Okay, it's a very simple calculation, right? What's wrong? When to match case oh, we didn't put when. Case when. Look at the syntax on the right side. Okay, that gives example. Okay, okay, no, I think it's saying something else. So this is case. Okay, this is not the right one actually. This is for cases when we want to see when the value is equal to 100,000. Okay, then do something. Then okay, we want something like if case, or if you want to use this, we could do something like this: when true, then true, else false. Okay, so this will work. So what we did here, so when this expression is true, right? When expression is true, then I'm calling it true, else I'm calling it false. Okay, nothing else. So and if would have been better here, right? If this is the case, so anything we feel comfortable. So when this statement is true, okay. So when it's true, I'm calling it a string true, else I'm calling it string false. Okay. So that's as simple as that. So if I now use this subcategory under 100K and put on the color, okay. So he has done an aggregation on that. And that's why it didn't work correctly. So if I pull it back into the dimension shelf, what happens? Okay, let's try to put it here, what we have. So this is correct, right? We got the result correct. So binder, they have profit less than 100,000. So they are getting true, they are getting false, but this color coding is not happening correctly. Why these all are coming as black? Let me edit this. Okay, because we did profit actually, is the problem. So we're looking on profit and here we do have profit. What could be wrong? You're getting a problem, right? So here I was expecting them to color. So all the false ones should be like blue one and all the two ones should be the red one, but it's showing them all black. So in a sense it's working, in a sense it's not working. So just to verify it's working or not, what we can do is I can have subcategory. Okay, I just create a small text table. Okay, and I didn't put profit. Okay, so I can convert this to a text. I just want a text, right? And then I'm putting this subcategory under 1000K. Subcategory under 1000K. What he did, let's see once. Edit group. Might be something I'm missing. Let's look at the finished ones. Okay, so he created something like high profit subcategory. If I edit this, so we just use an if else statement, right? So if sum of profit is greater than 100,000, we did it reverse way. That's fine. As false than this, and we got the color. Okay, let's try to do it again. Subcategory, create calculated field. I'll say if sum of profit is greater than 345, then true, else false, end. Okay. So if sum of property greater than 100,000, then true, else false. A simple one. I will call it my cal. Okay. So if we just remove these ones, okay, and if you put my cal on the color, yeah, it's working here. Why not? Why it's not working there? I have no idea. Okay, let's try to build this again. So we want to see profit by subcategories. Okay, and I created our calculation. I want to put into colors. Oh, it's working. Did you notice anything different? I did it here. It didn't work last time. We only use that calculation. Might be that case was making it something wrong. Okay. Okay. So did you follow what we did? So one thing important was, till now we created groups based on manual selections, right? But what if you want to make this an automatic process, right? As the data will come and go, the profits of these subcategories will change, right? So the binder is now under, it's having a profit around of 72K, but it will not be always. It might go beyond 100,000. Some of the phones can have profit less than 100K. Okay, so this is kind of not static. Okay, so the best way of grouping them is based on some calculation, right? So how we can do a calculation in Tableau? You could right click on a field and create something like a calculated field. Okay, so this is just starting point. Okay, we are going to do a lot of complex calculations. This is what this sessions will be all about. But this is just a starting point. Okay, so I will just say right click and create calculated field, and then you can add any kind of calculation. There are a lot of functions out here: standard deviation, rank, mean, max, and whatnot. Date functions. Okay, and table calculations. There are a lot of functions. So we'll see some of them. There will be separate sessions on discussing this. But for now, we just write a simple calculation, right? So what I wrote was that if the sum of profit, right, is greater than a particular amount, then I'm just calling it true, right? Else I'm calling it false, and I'm doing an end. That's okay. Okay. So I just have to keep this. If profit is greater than 100,000, then make it true, else it's false. As soon as you make a calculation, it will be available as a calculated field, okay, inside your box. So all the calculated field will have an equal to in the front. Okay, it's again standard Excel notation, right? So in an Excel, whenever you create a calculation, you put an equal to and then you start, right? That's what they have. So if you want to put a field here, what you do, you put an equal to and then you just concat these two, right? Okay, so that's why that equal to is there. It's from the again Excel world. Okay, so the equal to in front means they are like a calculated field. Okay. So once you have that field, you could use it to any way you want, right? So what we did here was we drag that into the colors bin, right? So what happens is as soon as you put them on the colors bin, so let's use my calculation. I created here, so I can just put it on the colors, right? So you can see automatically he's showing me true and false, right? So basically true means, so we call it true, false. You can call it anything. You can say under 100,000 or above 100,000, right, in the string. So in my calculation one, I could say if it's greater than, then I will say greater than 100K, and here I can say less than 100K. So it's like our choice. We can call it anything you want. So you can see it's clearly visible now. So you click on this, it shows all which are less than 100K, and these are greater than 100K. Okay. So these way calculations are very powerful. We have used calculation here to create a logical group of items, right? Earlier, which we did by using the manual grouping, right? But many times the manual grouping is not useful. So there are a lot of ways, there are a lot of use cases for these. Okay, and you will find it in day-to-day Tableau reporting. So you might group employees by some feature. Okay, you might let's say you want to group all the employees who belongs to IT as one group and non-business as other group, right? So what's logical way of doing it? The simplest way is that you get an employee type from the data, right? So employee type is IT or business, then you could use that. But many times we are not fortunate, right? In real world, you don't have good data out there in the source, and you as a BI reporter get the responsibility to correct that. Right? So in that case, what you could do, you have to write some logic. Right? So one way is you go ahead, create a manual group. You click on employee, right click, and try to figure out which one is IT, which is business. You know it, right? But the problem with manual grouping works best for the things we don't change, right? Something like FLN Florida, that you know it's same, okay? But that doesn't work for these kind of cases. So like cases where you want to segregate employees of IT and business, okay? So you need some logic. So what could be logic? The one logic could be you find out the employee's department, right? And based on that, you could figure out whether he is an IT or business. So you could have a case statement. So if case department start with EDC or department start with IT or department start with something, then the employee is IT. Okay. Else, if the department starts with something like investment in an investment management firm, then he's a business. Okay. So you could write that logic and you can create a calculated field, and then it is kind of a group, right? And that it can be used in the color, or it can be used anywhere you want. Okay. So I can create this calculation in text. Okay. So you can show in here. These are all above 100K. These are all below 100K. Like that. Okay. So it's kind of a visual thing. Okay. It of course is visible, okay, but sometimes this is a very simple graph. Sometimes they are not that visible, and you want to focus, you want to build employees focus on that. Right? So you could call them different. So I call them, whatever I named them was very technical, right? Above 100K, but you could name them as highest selling, mid selling, low selling, something like that. Okay? You can call them anything, and then you can drag them to text or label to go any level of visualization to whatever you want. Okay, I think we crossed our time, so I will stop now. Any questions before we move ahead?
Do you have class tomorrow?
Depends upon you. So you guys want, or you want to take a break, then you can take a break.
I'm okay with the class.
Harish, please.
So are you going to take off any day, or is it all 7 days?
You could take one day off. It's best for all of us. Yeah. You could take Sundays off. That sounds good.
Pushpinder, it wouldn't be suffice for me to get my classes tomorrow. I'm been working for this week.
Okay. So day after tomorrow is fine.
Day after tomorrow should be fine.
Okay. So let's stop tomorrow. So basically, we'll take off tomorrow and we'll start day after tomorrow. Works with everyone, right? So we'll.
Yeah.
Okay. Tuesdays to Saturdays. Yeah.
So, so if it doesn't work, then you will have a recorded